cheap, a cheap fake. That was definitely a cheap fake. It was cheap fakes videos. These videos are false. They're purposefully being altered. Cheap fake videos. Cheap fakes video.
A new establishment propaganda term just dropped, and that term is cheap fake. Essentially what they did is they took the term deep fake, which is an AI generated video or something that is purposely manipulated. They just took out the word deep, replaced it with cheap, and then now they're using that to describe any video that they don't want to be out there. But don't take my word for it. Here's propagandist Nicole Wallace explaining the cheap fake phenomenon.
There's a growing and insidious trend in right-wing media, broadcast, print, and social media. It is to take highly misleading and selectively edited videos of President Biden directly from Republican National Committee social media accounts and then use those videos to spread messages virally to cast doubt on President Biden's fitness for office.
So apparently the Mockingbird narrative going into the November election is going to be that you think Joe Biden is not fit for office because of manipulated videos. Now, what are these videos that they claim have been manipulated by right-wing forces? We'll start again with Nicole Wallace explaining the first one.
Here is this headline from the New York Post, quote, Biden appears to freeze up, has to be led off stage by Obama at Megabucks LA fundraiser. The full video, posted by Biden finance chair on Twitter, shows something entirely different. Biden reacting to applause and then walking off stage with former President Obama.
And here is the supposedly out of context manipulated video, which is just a different angle of Obama walking up as Joe Biden is standing there doing nothing and then directing him off the stage. Now back to Mockingbird specialist Nicole Wallace to explain the next one.
It comes less than 1 week after the New York Post made a cover out of another piece of deceptively edited tape, calling him Meanderer-in-Chief due to what they claim was Biden walking away during a skydiving demonstration during the G7 summit last week. The only problem is that the full video, which emerged almost instantly, shows Biden was going over to congratulate one of the skydivers who's cropped out of the video entirely. Both the articles are based on cheap fakes, videos of real events that are intentionally manipulated to fool viewers, released on an RNC opposition research social media account with zero independent fact-checking by these so-called journalists and spread throughout the right-wing ecosystem. And we would take the hand-wringing by right-wing media about Biden's mental fitness in videos intentionally manipulated to make him look unfit, maybe a little more seriously if they weren't radio silent about the repeated, glaring, and real mental lapses happening behind podiums and on camera on the part of Donald Trump.
So there you have it. I guess the case is solved. You only think that Joe Biden is a dementia-riddled old man because of the big bad right-wing media manipulation. And to top it off, Donald Trump is the one who's really senile, according to MSNBC. As far as the skydivers video goes, here is the one that was shared out by the RNC research account they keep mentioning. And here is the one that they claim adds context and makes it look like a completely different situation. But the point was never about whether or not there were skydivers in the video. The point was Joe Biden wanders off and then the Italian Prime Minister comes over to usher him back to the crowd as he looks confused as always. So somehow after watching that, I'm supposed to believe that Joe Biden is fine and there's no issues there. After the media did the dirty work for the establishment and created the cheap fake narrative, in steps White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre to carry the baton. She's asked about the video with the Obama fundraiser and the skydiving video as well, where she claims that they are cheap fakes and manipulated videos. She also tried to defend Biden's Juneteenth freeze-up. And just for entertainment purposes, I included the beginning of her taking questions because it was too clown world not to include.
So I want to say a few words in recognition of Pride Month. The Biden-Harris administration joins Americans across the country to celebrate the extraordinary courage and contributions of the LGBTQI+ community.
There seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern that we're seeing more and more.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops. For thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. And instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos, and it is, again, done in bad faith.
On the video
Sure.
you're talking about,
Yeah.
there were two instances in recent days where leaders, former President Obama and Giorgia Meloni of Italy, they physically put hands on the president to guide him and show him, give stage directions. Are they doing that on their own, or has anybody asked them to run the show like that?
First of all, let me spoke to the most recent, right? And as we saw on Saturday, President Obama's office put out a statement. So I would refer you to that statement about what was being accused in those by others. And he said this did not happen in the sense of what people were saying they were seeing, right? Or what was being falsely reported that they were seeing. Let's not forget, President Obama, President Biden have a relationship. They are friends. They're like family to each other. And I think that's what you saw. You saw the president put his hand on the back of President Biden, and they walked off the stage after taking questions or at an event taking questions from Jimmy Kimmel. That is what you saw. But I would refer you to President Obama's office statement. They talked about this, they discussed this, and they came out with it pretty quickly.
And Maloney,
All right.
you wanted to say something about
Maloney, I don't have anything. I don't know specifically what happened with Maloney.
the wandering, the parachutist, etc.
Oh, I mean, look, that was, as I said, it was a cheap, a cheap fake. That was definitely a cheap fake. It was. This was widely fact-checked. That video was widely fact-checked, including by conservatives media, on what happened, what occurred. The president walked over to give a thumbs up to divers who had just landed right in front of him. And if you run that tape a little bit longer, you would see what was happening, what the president was actually doing, and it is a cheap fake.
So this
That is what.
about nothing, and he's totally normal.
What I'm saying is, this is a president, right? Let's step back for a second. Instead of, and I said this moments ago, instead of Republicans, focusing on the president's performance in office and what he's been able to accomplish, his actual record, they do these cheap fakes. They are cheap fakes. And you're asking me about the Maloney, you're asking me what happened. That video was, Okay, let's talk about Juneteenth.
I could go old school and say, clap your hands, everybody. And everybody, clap your hands to the people on this side. Clap your hands to the people right here. Clap your hands to the people up top. Clap your hands. Watch this.
Could you call on me? Yeah. 'Cause my heart is aching that you call me. Say about me, baby. In my heart, that's how it's supposed to be.
One more time, come on.
Nobody but you. I don't wanna love 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 nobody but you.
Say, what is it doing?
He said today, he will come through. He won't let us not put superheroes through.
Say, I will never fall.
No greater love
A love like this
makes my heart beat.
for the rest of my life.
All I wanna do is make you proud of me.
The president stood there listening to the music and he didn't dance. Excuse me, I did not know not dancing was it was a health issue. That is a weird thing to actually flag when if you look at the people who are around him, you look at the expanded video of the people who were around him, they were not there were some folks who were not dancing either, and that has been fact checked. I mean, just because you're standing up listening to music and not dancing, that is not a health issue. That is just not a health issue.
Majorities of American voters who are telling pollsters repeatedly for years now that they have serious concerns about this president's cognitive fitness are being misled by cheap fake videos? Is that
I'm
what you're
saying
telling
that
us?
there have been, in recent weeks, there have been cheap fakes videos that have been fact checked. They've been fact checked by conservative media as well, to say that these videos are false. They're purposefully being altered.
So he's
That
fine.
is,
So he's
that
fine.
is, look,
He's fine.
the president has done more in his 3.5 years as president than most modern day president. And what he's been able to deliver. He's able to do that because he knows what he's doing. He knows how to deliver for the American people. He's able to make sure that we attack climate crisis with the Inflation Reduction Act. He's made sure that we're able to create 15 million jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs. He was able to make sure that unemployment went down. He was able to make sure that we are able to have Medicaid actually able to negotiate with pharmaceutical companies, something that no other president has been able to do. This president has been able to do. I think that tells you everything that you need to do by looking at his record. And what you're seeing right now is Republicans, instead of talking what I just listed about, what I just talked about, they're really diving into these cheap fake videos. And it's in bad faith. That's what I'm saying. What they're doing is pure bad faith, and it's been fact checked by many, including conservative fact checkers. Go ahead.
I'm going to